Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
Somebody at ESPN owes the Washington Commanders an apology, and today we're handing them the receipts to write it. This week, the network rolled out their top 10 rankings at every position in the league, voted on by actual league executives, coaches, and scouts. The cornerback list came out a few days ago. Then the edge rushers dropped. And when the dust settled, guess how many Commanders players made that list? 0. Not top 10. Not an honorable mention. Not a single vote from a single executive, coach, or scout in the entire NFL. 0. And the player getting completely erased from this conversation happens to be a man Washington handed $100 million to this offseason. So buckle up, because we are diving into exactly why this snub isn't just a difference of opinion, it's an outright factual error, and the stats are about to prove it. Let's set the stage here for a second, because context matters. Adam Peters walked into this offseason with one priority sitting at the very top of his list, and that was fixing the pass rush. He wasn't shy about it either. He came right out and said getting after the quarterback was the #1 focus heading into free agency and the draft, and he backed that up with real action. He handed out $100 million to land Odafe Oweh in free agency. He brought in K'Lavon Chaisson. He added Charles Omenihu to bolster the interior rush, and somewhere in that same stretch, Washington also added drafted Josh Josephs to add even more juice off the edge. This wasn't a front office dabbling in pass rush help. This was a front office treating it like the single most important ingredient to building a real contender. And there's a reason for that obsession. And it goes all the way back to the Super Bowl a couple seasons ago. Remember Brandon Ayuk? Yes, that Brandon Ayuk, back before he became a permanent recurring character in every offseason storyline involving this franchise. In that Super Bowl, Ayuk absolutely torched his defender and was standing wide open in the end zone for what should have been the game-winning touchdown in overtime. We're talking about a 9-yard throw. That is about as easy as a completion gets at the highest level of football. But it never happened, because the Kansas City Chiefs generated pressure at the exact moment it mattered most. Chris Jones got home, forced Brock Purdy to throw the ball away, and the Chiefs went on to win the Super Bowl. Flip that one single play, and history gets rewritten completely. San Francisco hoists the trophy instead. That's the entire argument for why an elite pass rush matters more than almost anything else on a football roster, and it's exactly why Washington poured so many resources into building one this offseason. So now let's actually get into that ESPN list, because this is where things get infuriating. #1 was Myles Garrett. #2, Micah Parsons. #3, Will Anderson Jr. Then you've got Max Crosby at 4, Aiden Hutchinson at 5, Danielle Hunter at 6, TJ Watt at 7, Nick Bosa at 8, Brian Burns at 9, and rounding out the top 10. Beyond that top 10, the honorable mentions included Jared Verse, Trey Hendrickson, and Josh Allen. Then there's a group of players who at least received some votes. Guys like Trevon Walker, Jalen Phillips, Montez Sweat, Leatu Latu, Nick Herbig, and Alex Highsmith. Look at that list top to bottom. Odafe Oweh isn't anywhere on it, not even a whisper. Not a single vote from a single decision-maker across the entire league. Now look, I'll admit, I didn't necessarily expect him to crack the top 10. That's a fair conversation to have. There are some legitimate stars ahead of him. But not getting a single vote, not even landing in that receiving votes tier, that's where this stops being a reasonable opinion and starts being an oversight. So let's actually dig into why perception on this guy is so far behind reality. Oweh's first 3 years in the league were quiet, there's no getting around that. Then in year 4 with the Ravens, he broke out with 10 sacks. Baltimore triggered his 5th-year option off the strength of that. But then the following season started slow. He didn't have a single sack through the first 5 weeks, and Baltimore decided to move on, shipping him to the Chargers. Here's the twist nobody talks about enough. The Chargers already had the #1 ranked defense in the entire NFL at the time of that trade. All it cost them was a 7th-round pick, and thanks to the compensatory formula, Baltimore is likely getting back a 3rd or 4th-round pick in 2027 because of how well Oweh performed after the trade. That's not a throwaway depth move, that's a calculated bet that paid off in a big way for Los Angeles. But here's the catch. The Chargers already had Khalil Mack and Tuli Tuipulotu anchoring that pass rush. Oweh joined mid-season on a defense that was already #1 in the league. Unless he was about to walk in and immediately win Defensive Player of the Year, there was never going to be a reason for that coaching staff to build the entire identity of the defense around a mid-season addition. So he added real production, he made a real impact, but he was never going to dominate the highlight reels or the award shows in that role. That's exactly why his name doesn't show up crawling across the bottom of the ESPN ticker the way some of these other names do. But if you actually dig into the numbers instead of the name recognition, a completely different picture emerges. According to Pro Football Focus, Oweh ranked 13th in pass rush grade across the entire league last season. His pass rush win rate checked in at 12th. Look at the names ahead of him on that list. Will Anderson Jr., Myles Garrett, Aiden Hutchinson, Micah Parsons, Danielle Hunter, Josh Sweat, Josh Allen, Jalen Phillips, Yaya Diaby, Nick Herbig, Nick Bonito, and George Karlaftis. That's a murderer's row of names, sure, but look at who's not ahead of him. Max Crosby wasn't ahead of him. T.J. Watt wasn't ahead of him. Jared Verse wasn't ahead of him. Trey Hendrickson wasn't ahead of him. Montez Sweat, Leatu Latu, Trevon Walker, all of them, all behind Odafe Oweh in pass rush win rate. Every single one of those names either made ESPN's top 10 or landed in the honorable mentions or receiving votes tier. Meanwhile, the guy outproducing several of them got absolutely nothing. And it gets even better, or worse, depending on how you look at it, when you check ESPN's own internal pass rush win metric, the one their own analytics department produces. By that measure, Oweh ranked 10th in the entire league, ahead of Brian Burns, ahead of Max Crosby, ahead of Aiden Hutchinson, ahead of Josh Sweat, ahead of Josh Allen, ahead of Danielle Hunter, and several others. Think about that for a second. ESPN's own numbers say this man is a top 10 pass rusher in football, and yet ESPN's panel of executives, coaches, and scouts couldn't be bothered to give him a single vote toward even an honorable mention. That's not a difference of opinion anymore. That's the network contradicting its own data. Now let's talk about PFF's PARP metric, which blends sacks, hits, and hurries into one combined pressure percentage. Oweh ranked 15th in that category, and yes, that puts him behind most of the names already mentioned. But he was still ahead of a stacked group that includes Leatu Latu, George Karlaftis, Nick Herbig, Alex Highsmith, Montez Sweat, Trevon Walker, Trey Hendrickson, Brian Burns, and Max Crosby. All of those guys got recognition from ESPN's panel in some form. Oweh got nothing. And here's a fun detail buried in there. His own teammate in free agency, Kalavon Chesson, ranked 19th in that same category, 4 spots behind Oweh. Now, if you want to isolate just his time with the Chargers, stripping away that slow early season stretch with Baltimore, his numbers climb even higher. 10th in pass rush win rate and 14th in perp during that window. And before anyone tries to write this off as a one-season fluke propped up by a small sample size, let's rewind to 2024. His last full year in Baltimore before any of this Chargers or Jim Harbaugh magic. That season, completely independent of the trade, he still finished 21st in the league in PFF's pass rush win rate while racking up 10 full sacks. This isn't a guy who suddenly discovered football in Los Angeles. This is a player who has been quietly humming along near the top of the league for multiple seasons running. There's also this lingering myth that Oweh can't defend the run, and it simply does not hold up under any scrutiny. In an interview after signing with the Commanders, Oweh was upfront about his own identity, saying he actually entered the league known as a run defender first. before ever being known for rushing the passer. And the tape and the numbers back that up completely. Among edge defenders who played at least 20% of snaps against the run last season, Oweh posted the third highest run-stop rate in the entire NFL. The year before that, he ranked 5th in the same category. So not only is this a legitimate pass rush weapon being overlooked, it's a complete, well-rounded defender getting zero credit across the board. Put it all together, and Oweh has been squarely in the top 15 to top 20 conversation at his position for 2 seasons running now. As he heads into 2026 at 27 years old, which is typically the athletic prime for an edge rusher in this league, this isn't some unproven kid running on potential and hype. This is a proven, ascending, highly productive player who just doesn't carry the same brand name recognition as the guys getting all the shine. And don't forget what he did on the biggest stage possible. 3 sacks and 2 forced fumbles in the playoffs against the eventual AFC champions. That's not a fluke performance, that's a player who shows up when the lights are brightest. So how does Washington actually plan to unlock all of that talent this season? According to defensive coordinator Joe Witt Jr., according to what's been said about the scheme, the plan is to isolate Oweh in one-on-one matchups on the backside of the defense, forcing single blocking situations rather than letting him get doubled or chipped constantly. Whether he's lined up in a 5 technique, a 7, or out wide in that 9 technique, the goal is to create alleys and clean lanes specifically for him in those crucial down and distance situations. 3rd and long, 4th and long. The moments where a single one-on-one win changes the entire outcome of a drive. And if Washington is paying this man $100 million, he better be winning those one-on-one reps at an extremely high rate. Look, this was Washington's biggest signing of the entire free agency period, full stop. And there's a certain frustration in watching a guy who should be part of the national conversation get completely written out of it. Commanders fans have heard the whole underdog narrative for 2 straight postseasons now. Tampa Bay was favored, then Detroit was favored, then the Eagles were favored, and every single time this team found a way to make it interesting anyway. At some point, doesn't it get exhausting always being the team nobody sees coming? Oweh has the physical tools, the athleticism, the flashes on the biggest stage a player could ask for. Now it's on him to go out and force the league to pay attention. Whether that means 14 sacks or whatever number silences the doubters completely. But make no mistake, when this same list gets published next year, Odafe Oweh is getting a vote. That's not a hope, that's a prediction, and you can hold me to it. All right, that's the case, laid out stat by stat, and now it's your turn to weigh in. Head down to the comments section and tell me straight up, do you think ESPN got this one flat out wrong, or do you think Oweh still has to prove it before he deserves that respect? While you're down there, make sure you smash that like button. It's the easiest way to support this channel and keep this kind of breakdown coming. And if you're new around here, get subscribed. We are closing in on 8,000 subscribers, and there's a giveaway planned the second we hit that number, so you do not want to miss out. Drop your thoughts. Let's get a real debate going in the comments, and I will see you in the very next video. Have a great day.
Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.